Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Ebel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and join me today for this meal prep following Dr. McDougall's starch solution, and I'm using up a lot of leftovers. So if you haven't heard my big news, I am moving in just over a month. So my goal for this next month is to try to buy like as little grocery as possible. I'm not going to completely deprive myself of fresh fruits and veggies, but I really want to try to use up things I have in my freezer, canned food in my pantry, and I'm probably going to end up eating a lot more starch solution focused this month than maximum weight loss. So for most of this year, I've been following maximum weight loss 50-50 plates, but just kind of evaluating what I have on hand here in my kitchen. I know I've got like a lot of pasta, a lot of lentils, beans, rice, quinoa, bunch of stuff in the freezer. And so I just know that it's gonna be easier to eat more starch solution style than trying to do 50-50 plates. So that's what's going on this next month. And since I'm using up leftovers, I'm really trying to watch the portion sizes. Like, I do not need to be making crazy big meal preps when a lot of it is just like reheating leftovers or repurposing them. So I'm really gonna try to limit myself to 3 items per meal prep: breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and probably be meal prepping more often. So for my breakfast dish, I'm going to make a cheesy hash brown casserole, and I'm going to add some of my quinoa taco mix to it. So cheesy taco casserole, it's great any time of the day. So a question I get asked a lot is about freezing potato cheese, and I froze some, so I want to show you what ends up happening to it. So I made this potato cheese and it sat in my fridge for like 3 or 4 days, and then I put it in the freezer for an entire week while I was out of town, and I pulled it out I think 2 days ago, and it's just been sitting in my fridge. So I'm not even sure if it's totally defrosted yet. So can you see how the potato cheese starts to separate, how that liquid starts to come out of it? I'm going to guess this is still a little bit frozen because usually it's separated quite a bit more. Okay, it's mostly thawed. Do you see how much more liquid is coming out as I start pressing this? Look how liquidy that is. So this is the reason why I don't like to freeze potato cheese, because then when I unthaw it, it seems to separate really bad. Oh dear. So I usually unthaw it and just, try to mix it back up like this, but you can see how it just completely starts to separate like that. Not the most appetizing, but it'll work, especially since I'm just putting it in the casserole. So like I've said before, it's not like potato cheese goes bad when you freeze it, but it just really changes like the consistency. I could probably heat this up on the stove, maybe give it a little whisk and get it a nicer looking consistency, maybe less separated. But for me personally, when I take it out of the freezer, I usually put it in a casserole. And I have frozen the casserole before. I have also frozen broccoli cheese soup that had potato cheese as the base. And this separation seems to happen like no matter what. This is some of my quinoa taco mix. I pulled this out of the freezer to thaw in the fridge a couple days ago as well. It looks like there might still be a frozen chunk in the middle. I did eat some of that yesterday too. Actually, let's grab the frozen hash browns out of the freezer and I can show you like what's left in there. I'm a bit obsessed with having an organized freezer where everything's dated so that everything gets eaten in the correct order and you don't end up with mystery freezer items. So I've got some shredded hash browns and I've got Southern style. So it looks like I still have 3 things of taco mix in there, a few more things of stir-fried vegetables, and then some random stuff. I have a couple things of soup, chili, homemade marinara. That's gonna be on my next meal prep. That sounds delish. And then I have some black beans that I did in my Instant Pot and froze, pineapple. I've got some random stuff in my door too. We'll get into that next week. For my lunch option, I'm going to make a variation of my chickpea of the sea dip because I want to use up a couple things in my fridge. First, I have this celery that's dated March 13th. Today is April 7th. So what is that? like 3.5 weeks. I've definitely used celery this old before. It still looks really good and fresh on the bottom. Sometimes the tops, which these look like they're pretty well covered in water, but if they get just a little bit of air, they might turn a little bit pink. So sometimes I just need to cut the top off. So that should be about 2 cups of chopped celery to go in my chickpea sandwich filling. And then I spent some time debating if I should make the double batch or the single batch. The double batch, I do 2 cans of hearts of palm, 2 cans of chickpeas, and I decided to go ahead and make a double batch because I did buy a brand new loaf of bread today. So this is my last can of chickpeas in my cupboard. And then I had this portion in my freezer, which shockingly did not have a date on it, but I know for a fact I did these at the very end of December. I don't think that's the equivalent of a whole nother can of chickpeas. It's probably more like half a can, but we're using stuff up. We're not trying to be perfect in this meal prep. So the main thing that is making my chickpea dip so different today is I am using some of this buffalo dip that I get at Kroger. I bought this a few different times in December, got really into it. I tried like all the flavors. A couple of the flavors are oil-free and this is one of them. So since this does have almonds and almond butter, I would consider this a starch solution food, not a maximum weight loss food, but it is expired. Expired but unopened, so I'm sure it's gonna be fine, and I really think I'm gonna like the flavor it gives my chickpea sandwich filling. For my dinner, I'm gonna put together a tofu stir fry, and this is probably only going to be 2 servings because I don't have any rice to go with it. I have this frozen container of vegetables. Looks like my classic kale, broccoli, coleslaw, and pepper combination. And then I have this block of tofu I pulled out of my freezer. So I press my tofu to get the water out of it, and then I freeze that block of tofu, and it changes the consistency. I like the way the tofu tastes once it's been pressed and froze. It's like more chewy, less mushy. So this has been in the fridge a couple days. It should be totally defrosted. So I'm gonna slice this up into some cubes, marinate it in a little soy sauce, and then when I'm ready to have this for a meal, I'll do half the block of tofu with half the stir-fry veggies. And I like to do the tofu in the air fryer. So I think I'm gonna get the tofu marinating and probably not eat this meal until tomorrow because I forgot to pull these veggies out before today. So they're still very frozen. So the first thing I wanna do is mix up my cheesy taco hash brown casserole, get that in the oven at 375 for about 40 minutes. And I don't have much else to do, so I should definitely be able to have the other 2 meals prepared by the time the casserole's done. Okay, honestly, I don't know if this is gonna turn out. This does not look... I've never had a casserole with this amount of potato cheese. It's just not... I don't know if it's gonna bind together. Wish me luck. my casserole isn't quite done out of the oven yet, but I wanted to get a couple other things put away. It took me about 20 minutes to get the rest of the stuff put together. And I only ended up using maybe a third, maybe a quarter of this dip, so I'll get to use this for something else next week. And quite a bit of quinoa taco mix left over, so I'll have this on the side this week if I want like nachos or to make anything else with this. Depending on when I meal prep again, I know I saw a can of enchilada sauce in my cupboard, so maybe enchilada casserole? So my tofu was definitely still a little bit frozen. Every time I sliced it, water came out of the block of tofu. So to get the best tofu using this technique, you press all the water out, freeze it, unthaw it, and then you press it a little bit again. Some people will put it right into their tofu press a second time. I usually just like pat it with like a paper towel and get all the excess moisture out of it. Like you could kind of see how much was coming out when I was slicing it. And then just a little bit of soy sauce on those, and then I'll put about half of those in the air fryer. And I usually do 370 for about 15 minutes with this size of cube. That's how I like it. I mentioned I just pulled these out of the freezer today. These are still rock solid. Maybe these should sit on the dish rack and go in the fridge a little bit later. And then my buffalo chickpea sandwich filling. I think it looks so good. It smells so good. I really like that buffalo dip at Kroger, and it's definitely a goal of mine this year to make my own really good dip that I can have with veggies and sandwiches and chickpea sandwich filling. Yum. I also mentioned I was really trying to limit my grocery shopping, focus on eating what's at home, but if I need to get a few things to supplement, I'm not gonna deprive myself of having fresh bananas every week. So got some bananas today. And then I knew I was making that chickpea sandwich filling, so I picked up a loaf of sourdough bread at Aldi. I have never tried this. There's the ingredient list on that. Usually at Aldi, I get like the seed and grain bread. I really like that. But then I saw this today and it just looked so beautiful. So I just pulled the casserole out of the oven. It doesn't look bad, it just looks a little dry. Like usually when I make a cheesy hash brown casserole, there is potato cheese coating like every single piece of hash brown. So it's like a good thick casserole. This is just, you know, lacking potato cheese, so it just looks a little dry. I think all it needs is like some salsa on top and it'll be perfect. And the bottom doesn't really look dry, you know. All right, this is getting hot. So it's going to be a really interesting month of meal preps as I try to like get creative using up what I have on hand here at home. I'm excited to see what's hanging out in my cupboards that I may have forgotten about. So thank you for joining me for this meal prep today, following Dr. McDougall's Starch Solution. Don't forget to subscribe and be well. What's that, Penny? Penny says be well. Or does she hear me say be well and know I'm done with the video and know it's time to eat? Do you know when I say be well that it's done? I think she's that smart. I do. I think she's that smart. Is Penny outside? Did I shut you outside? Poor little girl. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I think I want to do that all over. Start that over again. Penny. Penny. Come up here. Come on my bench. Come show your cute face. Come show your cute face. So this, so I wanted to, and I'll grab the hat, meal number 2, for my lunch option. So this has been de-thawing all of those sauce. I was trying, I usually get Penny. Oh, you're so cute. Let me talk, Penny, please. Penny. What? What do you want? Why do you always need attention when I'm filming? Yes, my best friend. You're so cute. You're perfect. You're so perfect. But I wanted to get a... Okay. My video is all done. What do you want to tell me? What do you want to tell me? Huh? You make the cutest little noises. Aww. Say be well. Say be well.